Hi everybody, I'm Beebs Kelly. Welcome back to another video. So today we are going to be talking about Meghan Markle's Fortune interview. So let's take a listen to Meghan's interview. But before we get into that, I'd like to invite you to subscribe. And also, this is kind of yet another kind of strange thing for Meghan to be doing. Remember the Time 100 thing? She was, talking about all this stuff with As Ever and with Love Meghan, and then she's the CEO and all this success. And everything is fizzled out. The Netflix deal has ended, and As Ever is not doing great. This is the same sort of thing. This feels out of place for Meg. She doesn't have the success to be here yet, but she pesters and she gets her way into these places because she constantly says, oh, you know who would be great? The Meg would be great. And then she contacts them and is like, hey, I'm interested in coming along to this thing. Just like she got her way into the Pierre Ballo's show. She really is aggressive in going after these types of things and wears people down, I think. So then they're just like, whatever, let her go. But then it usually doesn't go well. But let's see what she says this time.
Congratulations, you just won a humanitarian award for your work.
Okay. Yes, Meg was in Paris, and now she's in New York, and now she's in DC. She has been gone for her children for like 2 weeks. She's been gone away from the kids. That is crazy to me. And this Humanitarian of the Year award, calm down, Allison Chantel, the interviewer lady. As I say in the video, this is not some big prestigious award. This is not a big deal award just because it's called Humanitarian of the Year. It's misleading. Be sure you subscribe so you do not miss that video. If it's out already, I'll link it for you, but I think this is coming out before that, but there's some good details in that video, so don't miss it.
And you made it home for one day to see your kids. Yes, I had to. No, I need to see my babies.
First off, if you need to see your babies, then you'll bring them with you on these types of trips. Second off, eco-warrior status revoked. Meghan and Harry always talk about the environment and their footprint and all this. Zipping back for one day makes no sense.
I want to rewind about 5 years ago when you and your husband left England and you descended on Montecito, California.
Archie was so little, and I had just gotten pregnant with Lily around that same time, so we were nesting and healing, a community, which was always so important to both of us in our new environment. And then I said, okay, I've always loved being able to share. I've always loved being able to cook and entertain. Is there a business here?
Okay, so this is just recycling what we've already heard in the Time 100 and the Bloomberg interview and the People magazine interview and all these other spaces. We've heard this already. But here she is saying that it was her idea, that she thought there was a business in this rather than blaming the Netflix lady. I thought it was the Netflix lady who screamed at her, whisper screamed, there's a show here. Remember that version of events, the Time 100? So she's contradicting herself here. Meghan cannot help herself. She always contradicts her previous version of events.
But those 5 years, I wasn't running around wearing beautiful outfits.
Oh yes, and she's reminding everybody that she believes people would have thought she would go into fashion or beauty. No, Meg. No, we did not. We did not think that. Not at all. And no matter how many times you say it, it will not ever change.
Just barefoot at home, but I was making a lot of jam. So it ended up becoming the thing that really was my passion project that I turned into a business.
Amazing. And that became...
I think the first drop was in February or March.
Wasn't the first drop not until April? The first batch of products didn't come out until April 2nd, Meghan. If you are so involved and this is your business and you're a CEO and you're talking to Fortune magazine, okay? You should know the date that your products first went for sale, and it was April 2nd. What? Who can take this seriously? And why doesn't an interviewer lady know this also? Did she not do her homework? Did she not say, okay, well, actually, it wasn't until April, Meg. Hello? What? What a terrible mistake. Way to show that you don't actually care. Or that you're not actually involved.
That first sellout, we said, great, let's 10x the inventory for the next seasonal drop.
Which was a mistake because, as I've said before, that was all, those sellouts were false precedent. They were people buying the products to review them for content purposes or for their jobs, to write articles, etc. And so now, as you can see, As Ever is not selling. It's not moving product. Nobody cares about it anymore. So they've invested a ton of inventory costs that they're not going to be able to recoup because nobody's going to buy these products anymore going forward. At least not many. Not at the pace that it was at.
It is amazing, but also not helpful.
When Meghan does these fake yells and giggles, nobody is with her on it because she's not engaging and she's just talking about herself again. This isn't a type of story that's going to get people to give you feedback that she is always looking for with her giggles and her fake screams. People aren't reflecting it to her because she doesn't have that likability factor. It's fascinating to watch happen and also embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I would feel bad if she was a nicer human being.
How we can show up in your home for you. So yes, jam was the origin story, but if I begin with that within your kitchen and that's the offering, how do we continue to grow into your lives?
Don't grow into our lives. Also, origin story, this is not Spider-Man. It's jam. It's not even jam. It's liquid spread. Ugh.
Beyond the jam, which yes is the hero product, and holiday, we have to be ready for holiday. So trying to be that will go on, the business will of course go on longer than a series.
Here she's basically admitting that with Love, Meghan, the Netflix series isn't going to continue because she's saying that the business will go on longer than the series. But once again, we are rehashing stuff that we already know. There's nothing new here. Meghan's divulging no figures. She's not giving us any details we don't already know or have. This is not a worthy interview for our time to watch and listen to if it's just going to be the exact same stuff that she said on Bloomberg and in Time 100 and on the Emma Grede podcast and the Jamie Kern-Lima podcast.
It's amazing to be able to sit and watch a show for 30 minutes, but how can I give you a recipe in 2 minutes?
Meghan's next move is going to be moving with Love Meghan onto Instagram. This is my prediction. She's just going to do Instagram recipes because Netflix doesn't want any more shows. And so she's just going to use Instagram to try to beef up As Ever's sales because it's not really moving very fast. So this, to me, is her saying, I'm going to just do it on Instagram instead now.
So exploring all the options of what it could look like.
Exploring or last resort?
I do lots of gift wrapping techniques. You guys know I used to teach gift wrapping at Paper Source and advanced gift wrapping.
Oh yes, everybody's laughing so hard at the fact that you used to teach gift wrapping. Oh, it's so funny. The Meg showed us gift wrapping at least 6 or 7 times already on With Love Meghan. So for the love of God, please do not make the holiday special lots of gift wrapping. For the love of all things holy, we don't need to see it anymore. I wrap gifts better than she does. And I never had to teach it or do it as a job. What is happening?
Oh yeah, Humphrey Yogurt, that was my...
Why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about Meghan's past jobs? Who cares? Everybody has past jobs. Okay, it's not fun or interesting or relevant. Please, can we get some new content out of this woman if she's going to continue to thrust herself upon us when we don't want it?
When I used to do calligraphy, I used to do it for so many...
She's always touching her nose and sniffling. What is that?
Amazing. Well, a long way from the white tube socks.
Amazing. Is it amazing? I don't think it's amazing at all. It's pretty regular, pretty standard. What makes this amazing? Any guesses? I can't think of anything that makes that amazing.
Can we expect to see some of your stuff maybe in like a Target?
Really working to convey, and my intention with As Ever is getting back to things that are tactile, how we connect with each other. You want to put your hands on it. How does it feel?
So what she said was nothing. Basically, she has no direction, no intention to bring it to a brick and mortar store. There's no plans in the works. But she thinks it'll make sense within the next couple of years to get it into major retailers or have specific like micro collections, like just a line of one specific sort of thing in certain places. So an example of that would be like somebody like Chrissy Teigen had her cookware at Target. for example, but she didn't have a lot of other things at Target. She might have had something else at a different store and just these pans available at Target, for example. So the Meg is saying that she could see it making sense to, for example, maybe have her liquid spread at one store, like for example, maybe some sort of like Harry and David style, which wouldn't work because she tried to copyright infringe upon them, brick and mortar type of place, like a specialty goods food store. And then maybe she'll have some, eventually if she has like cookware type stuff, she could have that collection at a different store. That's what Meghan is theorizing, but she has zero concrete plans of this. There's zero initiation of this plan thus far. She's just spitballing. She's just coming up with ideas on the fly here. There are no plans. There is no structure for this. There is no intention for this at this moment. This is just her theorizing what could happen, as evidenced by the way she delivered her answer here.
Will you be going on TikTok?
I don't know. I mean, I think, look, I have had a very...
Let me just say, the Meg is not well suited for TikTok. She can't handle it. There's no way the Meg could like really vibe with TikTok. She better not, especially with it being so far off from her values and her humanitarianism approach and image. Even just being on Instagram is a big mistake.
The last time I was on Instagram, you guys, boomerang was a thing. That was a long time ago.
I don't understand why we are sitting here listening to Meghan Markle talk about why she is on Instagram in a personal capacity and how she's just there to play. Who cares? Who cares why Meghan is on Instagram and how she feels about it, beyond the fact that it is hypocritical to her stance in her cause-driven work? Ask the question, Allison. How do you reconcile those two things? You being on Instagram in a personal or professional capacity or both makes Instagram money and is in direct contradiction to your stance against Meta's anti-fact checking policies and they're not doing enough to protect youth. Somebody please ask her this, because just hearing her talk about herself and why she's on Instagram and how great that is for her matters not to anyone's life. It is nonsense. Horse hockey, ridiculous waste of time to listen to something like this. It is dumb to talk about. And quite frankly, it's rather embarrassing for this woman in her 40s who is fully grown. I mean, like teenagers getting onto social media is still new to them and it's a big deal and they're very excited about it. Young adults are still not yet fully developed. It can be a lot more of a bigger space for them when they're very young. And social media and their interactions online take up a bigger portion of their lives and their day. And like I said, it's still kind of new and fresh because they weren't allowed before. Hopefully they're, as they become old enough to get on social media and they get their first phone and stuff like that. It's a big deal for them and it feels very exciting and I understand all of that. And people who make their living on social media, I also get how that's a really big deal. Or somebody who has a lot of business success in part because of how they leveraged social media. I totally get it. Tell me more. The Meg pontificating about how she got on social media after a few years and how much different it was. Boomerang, oh my God, I don't even know what that is. Who cares? That's delivering no value. And as a full-grown woman with children and a business, this is not important in the grand scheme of things. Her getting on Instagram and posting a little video or a selfie every now and again is insignificant, and it should be so insignificant to the big picture of her life that she doesn't want to waste time talking about it on an interview like this. Can't you come up with something better, more interesting, more valuable, more connecting to your audience to say than repeat this story we have heard at least 3 times this year about how she got onto Instagram just to have fun? What is happening?
Because obviously people want to be hearing from you, but then they have lots of opinions that they stick in there that are not welcome, not helpful.
Kind of like the opinions Meghan is telling us right now. Basically, anything that's not positive is not constructive. It's just bullying criticisms that shouldn't be happening, and they're the problem, not my behavior. She doesn't take criticism. There are no valid criticisms. There is only praise in Meghan's eyes.
with an intentional and authentic point of view. And that's what I'm constantly working to try to achieve.
So something I noticed when they zoomed out and showed the room, it's not a super packed room. That's fine. I never heard of this event before, so it could be just kind of a pretty small event. But when she pauses to say like about building community, because that's so important, normally if you have an engaged audience, you'll see some people nod like, oh yeah, that's a good point, or I agree with that, or something. Nobody's nodding, nobody's giving any feedback. So I feel like the audience isn't engaged with her. Similarly, how listening to this, we are not sucked in and captivated and engaged with what Meghan is saying either. But here Meghan is trying to say that by writing little notes on her pictures and stuff and putting text overlays on her Instagram posts, she's giving feedback to the community somehow. I don't know that that really tracks. And again, I don't know that that's fully worth the time. Was that even the question about the comments section? No, it was about feedback. See, she doesn't acknowledge how she deals with negative feedback or where she can take it as a learning opportunity. And this would have been a great time to say, well, some criticisms obviously are coming from a mean-spirited place or whatever and don't need to be listened to. But there is valid criticisms out there. And when you think about things, especially in business, from a collaborative perspective of what would I say if this was a client or a friend that I was looking at, and you zoom out and you think more objectively, then you can grow and develop and improve. And part of that is taking on board criticisms, something that Meghan has never alluded to doing and seems incredibly incapable, completely incapable of doing.
We possibly reached peak social media as of 2022. And there's definitely charts that show, yes, engagement time across social platforms has gone down, and it's being led by younger generations.
That is an interesting trend, but you also have to remember that now we have tons of different social media apps to spread our time across. There's Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and YouTube Shorts. There's probably other ones that I don't know about. So we have a lot of different spaces to spread our social media use across. So that might also be contributing to the numbers declining in that each respective app is getting lower and lower engagement time. But overall, there's also studies showing that people have been kind of more online than ever. At the same time, I think that's excellent news if younger generations are doing less and less social media. I know I wouldn't be comfortable with my children on social media at the age most people let their kids start getting on social media. I'm not down with that. And I don't even use social media in a personal capacity myself. It just feels a little too self-absorbed, I guess, for me. Like, I just can't bring myself to be like, hey, everybody, check out this mundane thing.
Have you considered a cookbook? Could we expect that in the future?
Meg is obviously going to put out a cookbook at some point. Duh. Of course she is. She thinks that she has fabulous ideas.
Maybe a magazine. What do you think?
I love paper. And I really love, again, the sentimentality.
What a ridiculous way to start your answer. I love paper.
Issues of a magazine that you've held on to for so. I love a classic. I love things that are.
Meghan, just answer the question. Yes or no?
Dare I say vintage inspired, but for our kids, they would think a magazine probably feels a bit vintage. I do think there's something incredible about a handwritten note. I would love to be able to combine all of my loves that really are a little bit more old school into that type of forum. So I would say never say never.
That's great.
What is happening? Meghan, calm down. First off, that was not what she asked. She didn't ask for you to pontificate on your love of paper or not. She wasn't like, do you think digital or paper is better? If you're going to put out like a magazine or a cookbook, would you pick digital or paper? That is not what the question was, but that's how Meghan answered it. How ridiculous and asinine. Oh, this woman. Test my patience. But this just goes to show why Meghan should have done paper goods for As Ever. I've said it, you guys, a lot of you in the comments have said it. Fancy pens, calligraphy materials, cool paper, journals, notebooks, cards, blank cards, ones that she designed, little things that you can like, those things, the press things. Oh, somebody in the comments help me, where you can get like where you like squeeze it and it leaves an indent in the paper. Those types of things. You know what I'm talking about? Those are really cool. Meghan could have made As Ever that, because she's obviously a little bit more passionate about that than she is anything else. But saying something like, if I could combine all of my loves, it would be that, as an answer to, do you think you're going to do a cookbook or something? Ridiculous.
Great. Well, if we can help you with that, please let us know.
Yes, I know who to
Cringe.
So I'm curious, now that you have numerous businesses and ventures under your belt, and you're obviously still...
Can we please just bring it back down to earth for a second? They are in their infancy. Her ventures are in their infancy. She does not have a track record as successful. A lot of businesses, startups, go under within the first 5 years. Like a huge percentage of them. Why are we pretending like that's not a very real possibility for Meghan? What is happening?
What have you learned about yourself as a leader and as a CEO?
Thank you. You know, it's been incredible because when I was on Suits...
Going back again to talk about things from the past and repeat stories again. She asked, what have you learned? We don't need to go back in order to answer this question. It's a forward-thinking question. It's a forward gaze.
And I worked on the show for 7 years, and I loved, with Love Meghan, that's a crew of 80 people.
Meghan loves to remind us how many people worked on the With Love Meghan show, because it makes her feel important that she had 80 people circulating around her, and she was the person they were all paying attention to. They were all focused on getting her lighting, her sound, her makeup, her clothes looking great. Well, maybe not the clothes. They were all focused on her. They were all there for her. And she loves to remind people of that fact, even though it's not relevant to what she has learned.
And playing and being curious, constantly just pushing the envelope to ask the questions of how can we show up in a way that truly indicates that we are putting care into every detail.
How is that something she learned? That's more like what her ethos or her approach is to this, situation. That's not something she learned. She didn't answer the question. And asking people what they learned is always a very insightful question, because it shows you their ability to be a learner and to be willing to say that this is something that they learned that they didn't previously know. That shows you that they're not going to be some know-it-all, cocky person who's impossible to work with and impossible to get to learn and grow. If somebody's incapable of answering the question, what have you learned? Then I don't trust them. And I wouldn't want to work with them either.
But I know you love detail. You want to be...
She says she loves detail, but she does not. Ask any Virgo that you know, especially an August Virgo, and they will tell you the Meg is not detail-oriented in the slightest.
I think from my standpoint, it's really all of it holistically, and I don't think there's any founder in year one that would say something differently, not if they had the ambition to scale in the way that I do.
Okay, so she's basically saying that she just keeps her hands in everything, which is an impractical answer. And then she's like, anybody, everybody who's right will agree. I feel like sometimes Meghan doesn't know how to answer these things. And so she fumbles around talking about things that don't really matter and trying to lace together an answer that sounds important or proficient when it really doesn't. And this is when she throws out words like P&L, SKUs, because she doesn't really know how to answer the question in a valuable way. It's obvious that Meghan focused on, for example, how the packaging was going to look and how the label was going to look and the photo shoots for As Ever. That's like mainly what she focused on. And she could have just said she has the skill set for things like or she feels she has the skill set for things like the visual side of it because she's artistic or creative. Like, I'm not saying that she is, but she could have said, as somebody who likes calligraphy and art and is artistic and has experience, you know, as an actress, I felt that I had a good handle on, for example, our advertising photo shoots and the general aesthetic and the visuals of the brand and the packaging. And so that's where I really dedicated more of my energy, and I relied on the expertise of my team for a lot more of the business side of things because I'm not experienced in this field. And I hired people who do have experience in the business field. That would have been a great golden answer from her. But instead we got this mess.
Financial independence has always been important to you.
That is a huge element of that. Financial literacy, for that reason, is something that I spend a lot of time on, specifically for young girls and their empowerment.
Meghan does not spend a lot of time on financial literacy for young girls. She has not done any initiatives connected to this. She is not connected to any sort of charities or campaigns connected to this. We have no documented evidence of Meghan spending any time thinking about or supporting financial literacy for young girls. Just fact checking.
Women, when we support each other, we are not simply supporting each other's lives. We're supporting each other's legacies.
So I'm not saying that I disagree with that on principle, but I also think that it's more modern, progressive, and more now to not constantly circle back around to because it's a female-owned brand or because it's a woman CEO or because she's a female. And I have to give credit where credit's due here. The first place that I really heard this sort of a vibe was within the acting community. Actresses were saying, we are all actors. My job as an actor to always differentiate actor, actress feels weird because they were drawing parallels to, like, for example, we don't have female doctor, male doctor, different terms. It's just they are a doctor, they are optometrists, they are radiologists, they are nurses. We don't separate and categorize. And so I think it's more modern feeling and it feels more forward thinking to not draw it back to, you know, just because it's a woman, like, oh, I'm supporting this brand because it's a woman and therefore it's more powerful. I feel like that's, maybe we've moved a little bit past that, but what do you guys think about that? Okay, let me just say the little rub on the back of the interviewer after she finished this interview was weird. Don't rub people's back like they're your child. That's strange. Okay, overall, I think that this interview had absolutely nothing new. A lot of nonsense, talking in circles and word salads that delivered little to no value, actually zero value. There was nothing new in this interview that we have not already heard throughout the year, and once again feels very premature. Talking to somebody whose business is in its infancy just because they are high profile does not mean that the business is automatically going to be successful, or we deserve to hear about it, or we need to hear about it, or they deserve to talk about it just because they're high profile. A brand new business needs to show its staying power and success in longevity before it's worth using as an example and really evaluating and talking to that founder in a more meaningful way to get more information. Like, at this juncture, there's no need to have these conversations with Meghan, and as evidenced by her performance in this interview, she didn't really have anything valuable to say. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and be sure you're subscribed. I have a ton of videos filmed and ready to get out to you guys the next few days about the New York City trip and other things that have come up that are being missed by mainstream media. So you don't want to miss these videos. Have a happy day, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye.